Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we fulfill our destiny in the rundown.
Plus, we roll out with our review of Transformers Devastation.
Caltran 1, analyze.
And then we have a divine look at the enhanced edition of Divinity Original Sin. Also coming up, we review the new documentary Nintendo Quest, speak with the star of the TV series Blue Moon, and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. Last night, I had a strange dream. I was here, I was giving you the rundown, and now it looks like it came true. Destiny fans have something to look forward to next year. The first full sequel to the online first-person shooter is rumored to be coming in fall 2016, 2 years after the first game arrived. It looks like developer Bungie is getting some help as well. According to a deleted job posting, High Moon Studios, which has worked on the recent Call of Duty and Transformers games, is aiding Bungie with the Destiny sequel. This isn't the first time we've heard about the next Destiny game. Bungie and publisher Activision have long touted their intention to deliver multiple expansions and sequels over the next decade, and Bungie has previously promised that you'll be able to keep using the same character. We'll let you know when more Destiny 2 information comes in. The new expansion, The Taken King, deployed last month. Destiny 2 isn't the only cool thing coming next year. The long-in-development film adaptation of Neil Gaiman's comic series Sandman is slated to finally begin shooting in 2016. That's according to screenwriter David S. Goyer, who tells Collider that all the behind-the-scenes issues have finally been worked out. Sandman focuses on the Lord of Dreams as he fights other lords like Death and Desire, and like Gaiman's other work, there's plenty of trippy metaphysical elements. The film will star Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is also expected to serve as director. Since it will begin shooting next year, expect to see it in theaters in 2017.
There's nothing telling me that it can be done.
Interesting stuff for us to talk about in the rundown today. Let's talk about Sandman with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
He has his hands all over this thing. I'm okay with it. I'll buy it.
He's a multi-hyphenate type person, and he's a super nerd for this stuff. You know, he's just a fan of pop culture in general and super creative work. Neil Gaiman has given us so much incredible stuff over the years to sink our teeth into. One thing that's going to be kind of interesting, because the art and the kind of this kind of esoteric, you know, ethereal quality that was on every page of the Sandman comics, that's going to be hard to interpret for the screen. These guys, you know, Hollywood can do anything these days.
Look at all the talent, well, the one-man talent that I see heading this thing. I believe in him. He can do anything.
Well, if they've got a Doctor Strange movie coming with Benedict Cumberbatch, they can certainly accomplish this as well.
Sandman.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about Destiny 2. Obviously, we knew that Activision and Bungie were heavily invested. There's going to be a lot more coming. It's a successful game series. I think The Taken King has done very well again. But there is a sameness quality to the experience that Activision and Bungie have got to get over, you know, and I think we have to really get deeper into the story and knowing characters.
Yeah, that was the main issue, really, with Destiny all over the map was the story situation. But then I think of things like Titanfall that I love so much, and I didn't really care about the story there at all. I just jumped right into it, and it was so much fun. They have so many fans this game. People have logged hours and hours playing this thing.
Well, it's very Diablo-esque in its hooks, you know. You just want to get all the loot and customize your character like crazy, and it's fun taking all these huge bosses down, and going on the raids is a blast. It is a fantastic multiplayer experience for sure. We're going to see some pretty cool stuff, I think. Yeah,
we will. You know, we enjoyed Divinity Original Sin when we played it, and now there's an enhanced edition, so let's take a look. Divinity Original Sin, which is a huge game. My God, this is your baby. But for those people that haven't played it out there yet, can you tell us what Divinity Original Sin is all about?
Sure, it's a fantasy RPG which has turn-based combat. You can play it in local co-op, so in split screen together with a friend. And it's fairly big, yeah. It's over 80 hours of content. It's won over 150 awards on PC, and it's being brought to Xbox One and PS4 now.
But this must have been a really big thing for you guys to actually port it to the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, it's been a very intense operation. I mean, because there's no game like this on console, actually. It's never been done. We looked, and we couldn't find anybody who was doing something like this, so we didn't have a template to look at. But we think we did a pretty good job at it, and we see people, they pick it up, and like within a minute, they know how to play it, so it means it's very accessible now.
You guys have added something else a little bit new. Actually, it's a lot new. The voice acting, I feel like that's a big overhaul.
Yeah, we started recording actually in January and just finished last week, so it's been 6 months of voice recordings every day, and that's one of the things that we've done. We've added a whole bunch of new story content, we've added a whole bunch of new skills, we removed pretty much everything which we thought was not so good in the previous game, and we've just enhanced it, and that's why we call it an enhanced edition.
Why do you think fans love your game so much? What do you think they're holding on to here?
The freedom. When people start playing, they play it like every game, like this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to do, and then at some point they try something out and they say, holy shit, the entire world reacts to it. And then they just keep on going on and say, I can do this, I can do this. And like, for instance, you know, there's a guy who would say, like, do this for me and I'll give you the key. Well, you can pickpocket him, you can burn his door so you don't have to have the key, you can kill him, or you can do the thing that he wants to do. Or maybe you will just charm him and he'll do whatever you want.
If people have the PC version, do they have to start over again when they play it on the PS4? Okay.
So basically, people who have already PC version, they will get it for free in their Steam or GOG libraries. Obviously, you can't get it for free on PS4 or on Xbox One, but the game is so different that we're going to just give an extra installment in your Steam library on PC, for instance, because there's too much that has changed.
Original Sin, the enhanced edition. Well, I guess it won't be original anymore.
Yeah, I guess, right?
Right? Okay, so that comes out tomorrow.
Okay, and stick around. We're coming back with a review of a documentary about collecting Nintendo games.
Yeah.
I'm Kristen Cox. I'm a lead designer at ArenaNet working on Guild Wars 2. And my favorite Star Wars moment is the first time I saw the entire trilogy back to back. I was 10 years old. I had a giant sleepover with all of my geek friends, and we watched all of the first 3 episodes back to back to back. And I think we may have fell asleep in the middle of Return of the Jedi, but it was fantastic, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
I tell you, this station will be operational as planned.
The Emperor does not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation.
But he asks the impossible. I need more men.
Then perhaps you can tell him when he arrives.
The Emperor's coming here?
That is correct, Commander. And he is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
Oh man, Star Wars! I love these memories. We're pretty deep into it now. I cannot wait to get to 100. Now I've got to go to a documentary about collecting Nintendo cartridges. Does this sound interesting? Well, let's find out.
Nintendo's such a part of him that he's willing to crisscross the country in search of these holy grail-like artifacts.
A young man goes off on a very noble quest. Yes, this is the story of mythology and country songs, but today's story is centered around a man collecting all 678 Nintendo cartridges. His name is Jay Bartlett. This is an authentic documentary directed by another guy named Robert McCallum, set in your old stomping ground.
My old stomping ground,
Toronto.
yeah, Toronto. Well, around Toronto, so they're from just a place outside of Toronto, and they go and they see people like Sid Bolton.
Sid Bolton, you guys know him. Well, you should know him.
Well, you should know Sid Bolton, of course, because he has the largest curation of video games in Canada. But the thing is, though, is this documentary is made with so much love, and you see the love right from the beginning, because they really do have this great friendship, the director and the star of this whole quest, and they just want to find all of these Nintendo games. It seems crazy, but not for collectors out there. I feel like if you have any kind of video game collection at all, this seems like an amazing adventure to go on.
This video game console didn't fade when it left store shelves. It's still around with a fan base of millions across the world and continues to impact a lot of people. Like this modern-day treasure hunter from London, Ontario, Canada, who loves Nintendo so much that he started a quest to get all 678 original NES games in person within 30 days.
You know, I kept watching this thing, and I can't take my eyes off this kind of movie. I love the premise so much. I'm not a big collector, not the way Vic is, and maybe not the way you are, but I do, like, these are still my people, and I do like to see them operate and as they go through life, and I like to see them go into all the used game stores and to connect with lots of people. The thing I kept thinking is, would other people who aren't gamers enjoy this? And I don't know. I can't answer that. What do you think?
I
I think there is a huge culture online of people watching other people do things like this, like on YouTube. People like watching collection videos, even if they don't collect themselves. So I think there is some merit to this movie. I feel like there is something there for people that are not collectors. But you're right, I did have that pull in there because, number one, it was collecting Nintendo games. Who doesn't love the NES and who doesn't want to see these games?
I know. I don't want to play the games, but I do want to collect
see them.
Yeah.
Like when they found Bubble Bobble, I'm like, wow, I have Bubble Bobble. What does this mean for
do
me?
You have Bubble Bobble?
Yeah, it's so exciting. I was so excited when he found these games that I know and love. So you do have the connection there. So maybe if you don't collect, but you played an NES game, you can find a tie to it. But also the tie for me came from just being in Ontario because they were going to places like A&C Games in Toronto. Are you kidding me?
You know that store?
Yes, this place is amazing in Toronto. It's so freaking great.
I want to go there.
Yeah, you should definitely go there if you're in the Toronto area for sure. But I thought that the quest was supposed to be across the country, but they seem to be going in the States too, so I didn't really understand the premise.
I didn't understand either. It's a little vague, a little more ambiguous than I would like it to be. I don't think this is a great film or a great documentary. It's no King of Kong, but I really couldn't take my eyes off this thing, and I enjoyed the whole thing.
If you're a fan of video games, a fan of the NES, a fan of Nintendo at all, I don't see why you wouldn't want to see this thing. I'm rooting for it for sure.
I can't go too crazy with my score because I don't think everybody will like it, but I liked it. 7.5 for me.
Yeah, it's a good score. 7.5 for me as well. Nintendo Quest is out now on demand. Seeing this thing makes me want to collect more video games for myself. I'm going to be in those video game shops throwing them bows, trying to get what I want. So watch out. Don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got our review of Transformers Devastation. Welcome back to EFE Daily. I think it's important as Canadians that we brush up on our French, especially me. Mine is very, very bad. That's why I love that there's a show called Blue Moon. Check it out.
J'ai réfléchi à ça. Je veux continuer ce que mon père et toi vous avez bâti.
Is your show on French? No.
Yeah, it's a French-Canadian show, yeah. So the name is English, but it's a French-Canadian show.
Okay, so did you discuss that with the producers after? Like, why did we do this? We're going to confuse people if they jump into this and think that it's an English show.
Well, we discussed it a little bit, but because it talks about a paramilitary company, a Canadian paramilitary company, it didn't make sense to have a French-Canadian name for such a big company.
Okay.
So we're just hoping that people won't get too confused. And if you think that it's an English show and they start watching the show and it's in French and it has subtitles, well, maybe it's good in the end.
La bâtisse ici, c'est là que se réunissent les principaux membres de la gang à Mansour.
Tell me about your character in the show.
So the show is called Blue Moon, and I'm basically known in Quebec. I started acting in Quebec when I was like 13. I've mostly played the romantic girl next door. I was on Revenge for the past 2 seasons and playing a villain. And I guess, well, maybe the writers in Quebec were like, okay, she can't not smile all the time and be like just this happy character. So they wrote this series with me in mind, and the character, there's something much darker about her. So we start with her in the military, and she inherits half of the company of her father, which is Blue Moon, and it's a paramilitary company, which is a little bit like the Black Ops and all that stuff. It's pretty much an action-driven series, which we don't do much in Quebec. I had to train. It's really fast to lose it all. But a few weeks ago, I was still pretty much in shape, but now I can wear dresses again.
I feel like lately, especially, there have been so many amazing roles for women, or at least it seems that there's so many women's roles that have so many layers to them. So who is this person that, like, she doesn't just kick ass? I'm sure she has a softer side as well.
Yeah, but sometimes it's, having a softer side or just being complex. And when you were talking about different layers, I think that that's what we want to see in female characters. You just want to feel their inner life. It's not only the villain, or it's not only the happy girl or the girlfriend. It has more complexity. And sometimes I think that not only you would think that a character and a female character needs to be the lead to have that many layers, but sometimes I think that when you're not the lead, but you're just the one next to it, you can challenge the audience sometimes even more. And it's great to see that they're doing that with female characters now.
Merci, Karine. Merci. That was me trying to work on my French. Anyway, let's go to our review now of Transformers Devastation.
Megatron and his Decepticons are already here.
Ben and I are ready to transform and roll out That's right. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You must be a Transformer.
I am.
Because I was devastated by that performance. We are talking about Transformers Devastation. Finally, a classic feeling Transformers game. Ben, is this the one we've been waiting for?
Well, it's definitely the one that people of a certain age have been waiting for. If you grew up with the original Transformers cartoon, and let's face it, that is the Transformers.
That's what they
All
are.
this Michael Bay stuff, forget about it. These original cartoons were awesome. They were incredible. They're what invested us in the toys and in the entire franchise. And I love the fact that Platinum Games has taken that original Transformers and kind of kludged it together into what feels like a playable episode of one of those old shows.
It's like I'm living the show.
Devastator.
What I love about Transformers Devastation is it goes back to the roots, to the core.
The cel-shaded goodness
of the original Transformers.
Which is something we haven't gotten. I mean, we've gotten all these like War for Cybertron and, you know, these realistic sort of movie tie-in films, not quite, but movie stylized characters of the Transformers in games. But we haven't seen this cartoony, classic, authentic feeling Transformers in a game before. Is it as good as the old school Transformers cartoon feel?
I think you're asking if it's more than meets the eye. And I would say this game, it meets the eye.
It does,
It gets right up there and meets your eye, exactly kind of what you were hoping for, what you expect when you start playing it. I mean, especially in its look and in its sound, in its quality. I mean, a lot of the original voice actors are back.
Peter Cullen's like 75,
and he still sounds.
He sounds like a grizzled Optimus Prime, but it's still, that's what he sounded like in my head. That's what he's always sounded like.
And you've got all the old characters here. You got Soundwave and Starscream and Megatron, and they all have the same kind of ridiculous relationships where Starscream's always mad. Megatron, I'll get you one of these days. I mean, he's so evil. I know he never will.
Oh, one of these days, Megatron.
I love that it's still this like black and white, good versus evil. There's no ambiguity. You know who the good guys are.
Megatron's a gun.
Yes, he's still a gun, and he still does schmucky, terrible, stupid things, and Optimus is still like a do-gooder, and you've got Bumblebee, you've got Grimlock, you've got these classic characters you can play as.
Wheeljack.
And what's also really interesting about this is that it's developed by Platinum Games, which is a very Japanese developer.
I mean, come on, Bayonetta. Hello.
I know, and this is kind of a Transformers Bayonetta light in a way.
Transformanetta.
Yeah, kind of. And
It's
I know
like Bayonetta transformed into Transformers.
Maybe that hair can do anything.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her.
I know.
Deltran 1, analyze.
It's a ship of unknown origins, buried beneath the city.
This is Transformers. They try to keep it in the world of Transformers, and that's the one thing I was kind of meh about in Transformers Devastation was sort of the level design feels very enclosed, and it's not as open and big as I want to. It feels just like you're playing through a giant episode of Transformers, and they can only fit about 30 minutes worth of content of a world into the game.
Yeah, it really does feel penned in, and it's too bad because these environments look really huge. I mean, you're in a city and you're like, look, I'm in a gigantic city. I should be able to go anywhere.
I can do anything.
And you can't. You really have to go down these narrow pathways. You have a little map that you're following.
Sewers.
Yeah, it's all very penned in, and it is too bad because the actual combat and jumping around and kicking ass is classic Platinum Games. It's wild, over the top, a little bit hard to follow at times, button mashing insanity. Well, I would like to see this game transform into a slightly better game, but as it stands, I'm on board with the Autobots. 7.5 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 7.5 as well. Roll out! Is that Optimus? Optimus!
OMG, Transformers robots in disguise. I think that's how that goes. Anyway, don't go anywhere because after the break, Scott's got another one of his spooky, scary stories.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Scary movie time, boys and girls. And today's scary movie of choice from me is an obscure one. It's called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, this movie seems silly. It seems kind of a satire of horror movies. And then it does have funny moments, but it also has incredibly terrifying moments at the same time. For some reason, the makeup effects on the clown characters are just so unnerving. They're so difficult to look at. There's not a whole lot of gore here, but what there is is in here is a lot of inventiveness. I think that there's actually a TV version that takes out some of the more violent stuff that you might have found in theaters or on video. I think this is landmark stuff. I think it's really exciting. I think it's really interesting. It's a little mix of horror and science fiction, and it is well worth watching this Halloween, so I dare you to watch it. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Great stuff, Mr. Jones. We can always count on you to be a little bit spooky. Now it's time for our Twitter question of the day from Wowdeep Jedi, who is asking, does EPN sell its own logo t-shirts? Even if it's plaid, I would wear it every day. That is incredibly gratifying and humbling. And
very sweet. It's just funny that we're not actually wearing plaid today. At least one of us is usually wearing plaid.
I know.
We're supporting our own superheroes.
His
is real, mine is made up.
That's right.
But yeah, I would like that.
We don't have our own t-shirts.
Oh.
Yeah, I wish we did. I would love to do that. It just feels like we would have to think about a whole other business, and our business is making the television shows.
Okay, so like side business. It'll be one of our side quests.
So it'd be a side quest, yes. Yeah. But you know what? If you see this question and you see our answer to this and you really feel like you want us to make some EPN t-shirts, just let us know.
Petition.
Yeah, go to our Twitter, I guess, is the best place to tell us, or our Facebook page, and let us know. And if you want to ask us other questions or get caught up on the show, go to epn.tv.
We've got more coming for you in the next episode of EP Daily, including a look at WWE 2016 with the wrestlers.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
It's cool because I'm a big history buff as far as when it comes to wrestling, so I like the more a little bit outlandish characters. So Mikey Whiplash of ECW, he was like a smaller character in ECW, and like he's in the game, and I think that's super cool. One of the things that when they said that there's the biggest roster of any roster in WWE video games history, I said, ooh, is the Genius involved? And they're like, no, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, that was the one that I wish they would have gotten, but maybe in a future game. But yeah, it's really cool.